Well, today's episode is going to be a little bit interesting today. Now, as you know, the holiday's over, so we're going to be reviewing AEW Dark Elevation, and I believe we have 7 stacked matches. One of the matches features, of course, the Ring of Honor World Women's Championship. Athena puts her belt on the line. And, of course, we got Konosuke Takeshita taking on Frankie Kazarian. But we're also going to go back to back events by ICW No Holds Barred with Volume 38 Ultraviolent Vortex and, of course, Volume 39, which features a very interesting matchup for the main event, which is the ICW American Deathmatch title, where we have Brandon Kirk, who is the challenger, facing his wife, Casey. In the last couple of months, Casey has decided to sacrifice her love from her husband for this title. But can Brandon Kirk do the impossible? Is he willing to put his feelings to the side to save his wife from this belt? We just gotta wait and see how this turns out. However, we're also going to have some news updates, what's been going on in the world of pro wrestling. So, let's get ready for another episode of the Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Welcome everybody to the Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J Rod here. So let's begin with AEW Dark Elevation. It opened up with tag team action. We got Charisma teaming up with Leva Bates, who we haven't seen for quite some time. They take on The Problem, Marina Shafir, and Nyla Rose. But the strange thing is, we did not see Vicky Guerrero beat. It's still unclear what was going on. But I have to say, the match, you probably can guess, it would fall in the favor of Nyla and Marina. But however, later on in the entire show, we did see an interview with Lex Neer where she talks to both Vicky and Nyla, and of course, Marina's there. Now, the reason Vicky was not there is that she's pissed off. For one thing, uh, look what happened in Full Gear. Apparently, Nyla Rose did not accomplish the one thing she wanted to do, which was obtaining the TBS title. So it's more like, how do I say this? Vicky feels like she did not sign up for this, backing an individual who could not even win this title from the most dominant female wrestler right now in AEW. I think that kind of tells us a story, but the obvious question does remain: is this the end between the two of them? We just gotta wait and see. Now, our next match we have the Dark, Julia Hart taking on Promise Braxton. Now, this match kind of went the same as always, with her applying the Heartless submission move onto Promise, and it's over. But also on the note, Brody King, who plays her Saint, Brody King was there as her second. He even tweeted this: "Just dropping off my daughter on in school." I thought it was so hilarious, but makes sense. Now, our next match, we have the Bunny along with Penelope Ford taking on Madison Rain. Now, as you know, the Bunny has now is more acts like more like she's on a revenge mission. She's been out of action for quite some time due to an injury, so she decides to take her frustrations out on what's her name, on Madison Rain. But however, this ended with the rabbit hole being applied by the Bunny to Madison, and as soon as the match was over, they decided to give Madison Rain a beatdown. But luckily, Madison's protege, Sky Blue, shows up. Now you can probably guess that sooner or later we're going to see a tag team between the two of them. Now, Ethan Page, as you know, he's been trying to make Matt Hardy and Isaiah Cassidy their lives living hell since they bought their contracts. Apparently, they're telling them that for Matt, he's like, "You brought me here for Boxing Day. I could have spent Christmas with my family." So that kind of set things, but Ethan Page, he doesn't care. So we'll see what happens then. Now, our next match, we have Frankie Kazarian versus Konosuke Takeshita. Now, we all know this match is going to be one hell of a match because you got a veteran like Frankie Kazarian taking on the high rising superstar like Konosuke Takeshita. That's the reason I love this match. So you probably ask, how would this go out? Well, at first I thought it would be the jumping knee strike, but no, it was the most infamous German suplex with the bridge, and that finished off. And of course, Frankie Kazarian gave Konosuke Takeshita his respect. Next match, we got the very interesting duo of Wilton Nightingale and Ruby Soho. They take on what's her name, Vert Vixen and Maddie Rakowski. But I have to say there were some good moments between Willow and Ruby. Now, Ruby does not like the way Willow is, all bubbly and cheering, while Ruby is more like the hardcore, I'm here to fight type of attitude. But I did like how when Willow did put Vert Vixen in a backbreaker and then give her the position for Ruby to apply Destination Unknown. That's pretty cool. Now, our next match we have for the Ring of Honor World Women's Championship, we have Kiera Hogan, the challenger, and Athena. You probably can guess this one. It would also fall into favor for Athena to retain the title. Once again, being that disrespectful type of person is still in play as always. Now, final match, we have Blake Christian taking on Dralistico. So this was a pretty good match, but of course that idiot Jose, the assistant, is there too, making sure this match goes in their favor. And of course, Dralistico applied the Canadian Destroyer that allowed them to win. So, but as soon as the match was over, we did see Roosh and that traitor of the Dark Order 10 show up, congratulating Dralistico. But the obvious question is, what is now the Facción Ingobernable gonna do next? Well, we just gotta wait and see what happens. So I think that's pretty much it right now. So let's talk about the next review, which is ICW No Holds Barred Volume 38. Okay, ICW No Holds Barred. Now, this is one of two events that happened back to back. This one took place on the 16th of December at the H2O venue where they normally do it, since this is Matrimon's, territory. Opening match, we have the Death Samurai Akira taking on Marcus Mathers. Now, this is the first time Marcus Mathers has ever stepped up into death matches. Now, keep in mind, we normally see him on JCW or GCW, wherever it possibly could take him. But death match, I have to say, he really stepped up a little bit of his game. I think he took a bit risk because we have seen Akira, he is basically one of the masters of this whole thing. But you probably could guess he did a pretty good job. I agree, he did a good job. But however, it just ended with him being on the death penalty by the Death Samurai. 1, 2, 3 is done. But Akira actually gave him props for the effort. So it shows that, maybe there is a possibility we could see more of Marcus Mathers in death matches in the near future. Now, since I said this is H2O territory, we had the H2O heavyweight champion, one called Manders, make his appearance. Now, you probably can guess, if he wasn't booked for this match, why is he here? Well, looks more he's trying to play as the fighting champion, but not only that, since it is the territory H2O, why not, put the title on the line instead? But not in a regular match, but in a death match slash hardcore match. And of course, the first person that in fact walked through the curtain to challenge Manders for the belt is ECW legend Crowbar. Yes, Crowbar makes it. I thought this match was so sick. It was so amazing because you got an ECW legend versus a guy who who is part of the most dominating crew, but also the current um, H2O champion. But Manders was able to put away Crowbar when he did the run in the power bombs, the power slam through the door. And 1, 2, 3, it's over. Just like that. Now, our next match, we have Declan Grant taking on Oren Vert, who we haven't seen for quite some time. I thought this match was very, very, like, more brutal as I ever imagined, because Oren Vert, he's crazy, but he was able to pick up the win when he applied the assault driver onto Declan, and 1, 2, 3, it is done. Then our next match, we have Malcolm Monroe III, or as we call him, MM3, takes on Tommy Vendetta. Now this became more of like, okay, MM3's moment. Like, he wants to prove himself, which is nothing wrong with that. But you're facing a guy who's been in death matches for who knows how long. But it did not work out his way. When, of course, Vendetta applied the short top pile driver. 1, 2, 3's done. But Tommy Vendetta gave MM3 the respect that he deserves due to the fact he put up a good effort in this match. Next up, this is a very interesting matchup. We have Christian Ross versus Chris Bradley. This particular match is the two tag teams of H2O. They did not hold back whatsoever. They actually knew what they were getting themselves into, but in the end, it was Christian Ross who walked out as the winner. I thought it was insane. Our next match, we have two people. We got Low Lift Louie and the boss of H2 of ICW, Danny DeMonto. I thought this match was pretty good, but it did end with an elbow drop by DeMonto, giving him the win. Now, originally this next match, our main event, features deathmatch wrestler from Japan, Abdullah Kobayashi, taking on Casanova Valentine, but later we had John Wink Murdoch make his way. Then after that, Matt Tremont. I thought this match was like, okay, everybody wants a piece of Kobayashi. I get it. So basically, it doesn't matter. But who's going to be the one to pin him? Well, it did not end it that way. It was Kobayashi with an elbow drop with the tubes onto Murdoch. 1, 2, 3, it is over. I have to say, I did enjoy certain matches, especially the ones who never been stepped up in death matches, but they do respect their due to the fact they put the effort into it. And like I said, possibly we could see them in death matches in the future. But Kobayashi being there, you cannot say no to a legend like him. So, but it's not the last time we see him. So I will be talking more about him on the next review, and that is ICW No Holds Barred Volume 39. ICW No Holds Barred, which is Volume 39. So let's talk about that. Once again, we have opening act with Akira, the Death Samurai, taking on Bobby Beverly, a member of 440. Now, you probably can guess that Bobby Beverly, since he is 440, he would do everything in his power to win. He tries cheating, tries everything. But don't ever, I mean, ever count out the Death Samurai. That's who he is. And I think that's the one thing that Bobby Beverly did not anticipate. But once again, Akira applied the death penalty. 1, 2, 3. It is done. Next match, we have Oren Vert coming back, taking on the deaf Dr. Redactor. This match was insane. Redactor, he was nuts. You know, he was totally insane, but he applied a frog splash on top of some tubes, allowing him to pick up a good win against Oren Vert. Next match, we have, of course, the boss of ICW, Danny DeMonto, taking on Jimmy Lloyd. Now, it's been a while since they said Jimmy Lloyd's ever stepped up into the ICW ring, and I think many people were enjoying it. But it was, you probably would have thought Danny Monto, who is the boss, would have walked out as the winner. No, Jimmy Lloyd was the one who walked out as the winner. But in the post-match promo, it appears that DeMonto really, really wants Jimmy Lloyd more often in ICW, and I see no problem to that. Now, our next match, we have Hoodfoot taking on Abdullah Kobayashi. I thought this match was pretty fun, due to the fact Hoodfoot is one of the most rising stars in the deathmatch scene. I've always seen him, how people talk about him, how he stepped up in every match he could possibly in, but he's facing a legend. That is the thing about Kobayashi. But however, once again, this match did not fall in favor of Kobayashi. Like I said, the rising star is the one there's a rising star, and that is Hoodfoot, and he applied on top of an elbow drop with the tubes on top. 1, 2, 3. It is over right from there. Next match, we have Tommy Vendetta taking on the boss of H2O, Matt Tremont. I think it was a pretty insane match, really brutal, but it was Tremont with the package pile driver that put away the Vendetta. But however, because of this, Tremont put out a post-match promo. I don't know exactly 100% what he said, but it was clear he's going to make an appearance at WrestleMania week. Now, keep in mind, no, he's not going to be wrestling in WrestleMania. There's other wrestling events taking place on WrestleMania week, so looks more like he has his eyes set over there, and we'll see what happens from then on. Next match, we have John Wayne Murdoch taking on the other member of 4-4, the best deathmatch wrestler, Eric Ryan. Now, you know Eric Ryan would do anything to maintain his status as the best deathmatch wrestler. That's always been his game. But he even applied putting John Wayne Murdoch in dog collars to ensure that this match falls in his favor. But unfortunately, I think Murdoch was the one who had the much upper hand when he applied. I don't know if it was a brain buster, but it did end it that way. Now, our main event features the ICW American Deathmatch title. We have Brandon Kirk taking on his wife, Casey Catal. This was one of those matches where, of course, Brandon Kirk, he has to put his emotions to the side. He has to focus on the prize, which is dethroning his wife from this title. Because in the last few months, Casey was willing to sacrifice everything for her legacy. But Brandon was willing to sacrifice everything for love. And I think that tells a pretty good story about how he was willing to save his wife at any cost, not to mention taking out Cruel out of the blue. But it did not work. Everything went crazy until somehow Brandon Kirk applied an avalanche psycho driver on top of doors, tubes, whatever you can get your hands on. And it did allow him to become our brand new American ICW American Deathmatch Champion. I mean, let's take a few moments on this one. I want to talk. I've seen Brandon Kirk. He was the most hated person. And then all of a sudden, when his wife was becoming the rising star, people still like, okay, it's half and half. Like, and then when Casey changed, it's like people were rooting for Brandon. It's like saying, I was there for you when you won that title. And I've always stand by your side. And now she decides to treat him like he was garbage. But now it's like more like for him, he has to fight for her because this is not what he signed up for. But he knew what he was getting himself. And I think it tells us a good, fantastic story. I think I did enjoy this storyline with Brandon and his wife. But the question now remains, where do we go now with Brandon as the new ICW American? Hope it doesn't go to his head, but I hope it shows that he's willing to fight for everything that he believes in. And I think that's something I could see. But, like I said, let's just wait and see what happens. So I think that's pretty much it with ICW. I believe it's time for some news updates. Okay, welcome to our news updates. That way we can talk about what's been going on in the world of pro wrestling. Now, you may have heard about the recent developments a while back with Vince McMahon planning that he wants to come back to WWE. However, that sort of thing kind of drawn to question, what does the talent think? Now, according to Fightful Select, they say the um talent on WWE, what their response, they're saying it's kind of like exhausting and draining. Like, it feels like they don't want him back. That's according to what he says. Majority of the talent don't want him back, and they feel like they want to consider this with Vince as a thing of the past. And I can understand it. Keep in mind, morale in WWE was not in a good place. I mean, wrestlers were arguing about their spots, all this and that, and I think that's tell us. But this is what Theodore Long, Teddy Long, said about this. I don't see where there are any reason for him to give up or leave. It's just my opinion because don't know the circumstances of all about what's been going on, but I didn't see any reason for him to walk away. If he wants to come back, let him come back. Vince will always be Vince. And I think, okay, so what does that tell us? Vince did mention that he feels that he received bad advice about him stepping down. Possibly, but he feels that this whole allegations that he was being accused of would have died out eventually. Let's just talk about that a bit. We don't know for sure if it's going to die out. We don't know what other things will be drawn to question. But the obvious thing is this. I get that Vince feels like, okay, now it's time to take things back on track. But right now, it's like WWE are doing way better now that they ever were since Vince left. The real question is that dark cloud really going to cause a problem? Well, we don't know for sure. But if any more developments on this, we'll just wait and see what happens. Our next update here, West Coast Pro has announced for a brand new show coming up in February on the 4th of February called Three Cheers for Sweet Revenge. Mike Bailey has been booked to face off Viento. That's going to be great. Pure J has announced for a interesting matchup coming up. Their top star, who Akari, won a Christmas Rumble, and her wish that she wants is to face Eagle Mask from Just Tap Out. Now, why would she face a male wrestler? Well, it turns out that both of them debuted the same year. It wouldn't make sense, but this would be a very interesting challenge for Akari to facing Eagle Mask. Now, interesting developments coming from All Japan Pro Wrestling. As you know, things are very interesting from what I'm seeing. There's certain events that I missed out, but this one was announced for January 2nd. Is a tag team match. We have the roster members of the roster of the All Japan, Shuji Ishikawa and Hakuto Omori. They take on the King Minoru Suzuki and coming from Dragon Gate, Norikudoi. Now, I just found out interesting about Norikudoi. He has never opened the door for any promotion in his career, and he just recently made an appearance in DDT Pro Wrestling. That is interesting. And now he's stepping in to All Japan. I feel like there are certain wrestlers that never stepped up to any promotion. And I think this Dragon Gate could be one of those promotions, to be exact. But we'll see where they're going to go. For some updates coming from Black Label Pro for their upcoming event in February 18th, Love Stinks. We're going to have Kevin Blackwood taking on Trish Adora. So really, it's going to be an interesting intergender match. Now, our final updates mostly coming from GCW. A lot of things are taking place. For their last event of the year till Infinity, it was announced that Hijo de Vikingo will be facing Joey Janela. Now, keep in mind, Hijo de Vikingo, it will not be allowed to be streamed due to the request of AAA. I think it's a load of crap, but we can't argue the system. Now, the following day, on 56 Nights, on the 1st of February, it was announced that Nick Wayne will be facing Leon Slater coming from the UK. This is going to be one banger of a match. Now, interesting developments. If you guys remember, I mentioned for 2023 in GCW, there's going to be one particular event, GCW versus New South, a promotion out of this a promotion that I've seen once or twice. They announced for one particular match, and this is going to be Bessie, Effie, and Alley Catch taking on the Carnies. So that's going to be a much interesting matchup to see. Now, finally, for their upcoming show, they announced for an upcoming show in February back at LA for the UCC. It's called Middle of the Night. So this was already been announced, but no announcement who will participate has been signed yet. I can try to take a few guesses, but we'll just gotta wait and see. So I think that's pretty much it right now what we have. So let's just call it a day right here. Okay, so hope everybody enjoys this episode. Um, Hope if you guys are big fans of ICW, then you guys know I will always enjoy that promotion. So let's just enjoy what I reviewed. And of course, since we're coming up in Tuesday wrestling, I will be reviewing AEW Dark, NXT, and of course, um, NWA Power. I'm sure we're going to continue more with the Champion Series, which is getting fascinating. So we'll just see what happens there. And I think that's pretty much it. Oh, yes. Interesting developments that I'm going to be talking about, mostly about Unagi Sayaka, some certain stuff. And somewhere down the line, I have some couple of news updates that I'm going to put out due to the fact that I did not put them here. By the time I was ready to record this came out of my notification. So there will be some things I'm going to be talking about on that. So I think that's pretty much it. So I will see you guys in the next DWZ time. Same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. And have a nice day.